Community Bank and Trust started over 20 years ago. We started as a de novo bank with a group of local investors. There were 18 investors who got together and decided that we wanted to start a small community bank. A lot of us had worked for big banks and decided that we'd like to work for a small community bank. And so we got together a group and opened the bank, and here we are over 20 years later. 5 years ago, we were acquired by holding company QCRH out of Moline, Illinois, and since then we actually collapsed our charter and we're now a division of Cedar Rapids Bank and Trust. Something that's really unique about our bank is that we, because we're part of a bigger holding company now, we're a small community bank in our community, but we're able to offer the products and services that big banks can. That's very unique because normally in a merger acquisition, there's a winner and a loser, so to speak, and in our case, our bank has decided to keep the separate charters, and therefore we're able to offer the products and services big banks can, but we can do that on a local level. We can price our products separately, we can do our loans and deposits and have any kind of products that our community is needing, and we're able to offer that to them.
I think our market is very competitive when it comes to bank pricing and rates. As far as just a community our size here in the Cedar Valley, we have over 20 different banks, credit unions, all competing for, a share of the market. So pricing is very competitive, I think, in this part of the state, maybe versus other parts of the state or even other parts of the nation. Some things that's forced us to do is to get really creative when we're looking at, creating campaigns to go out and try to increase market share. In addition to offering very competitive rates, we're trying to find, products and services that maybe can be more value add or create some outside of the box ideas to kind of tie with our products and services to try to draw in new clients. I think that combined with offering competitive rates is really the way that Community Bank and Trust is going to continue to compete here in the Cedar Valley.
It's interesting because one of the reasons why when we started as a de novo bank 20 years ago and then we decided to merge with a larger institution is because of the fact with regulations and the different things that were happening in our industry, we didn't have the resources anymore as a small community bank to go forward. So we decided that we merged in with QCRH Holding Company. Therefore, anything backroom now is actually done off-site. And so we've eliminated the backroom positions for the most part, and that's done either in Cedar Rapids or Moline, Illinois. So everything we do here in this community, we're customer facing, and it doesn't make a difference to the customer what happens compliance-wise, but it does give us the opportunity to be experts in the areas that we need to for regulation, but not actually have the people here at our community bank. Our unique opportunity here in the community is that we're small enough in a community bank that when you walk in, you're talking to the decision makers and you're talking to the people, and you don't have to call an 800 number. But the advantage of being part of a larger holding company is the fact that we've got the products and resources that we can offer to our clients just as any other big bank can. And our commercial clients are really excited about that fact that we've got the treasury management services and the different deposits and loan products that any other bank has, even though we're still a local community bank.
In my world, retail banking, the most significant change has been some of the changes to HMDA. So under the previous legislation, under Dodd-Frank, banks were required to report 48 points when capturing customer information and entering this data into fields. And now, under the current regulation, our bank, we are partially exempt and we are only required to report 22 data fields now. So it has significantly impacted the amount of data that we're required to get from our clients.
The Volcker Rule actually had no impact on our bank for two reasons. One being that our bank does not engage in any proprietary trading or any investment in covered funds, which the Volcker Rule actually prohibited as a result of the Dodd-Frank Act passage. The second reason is that prior to the passage of Bill S2155, the Volcker Rule was actually, the threshold was raised as a result of some Fed deregulation. So the actual impact of the law passage of the threshold raising was actually minimal.
The two main requirements in the escrow clause before EGR or CPA were that number one, the banks had to have assets of less than 2 billion. Now they have to have assets of less than 10 billion. And two, that they have to have less than 1,000 first lien mortgages made annually, and CRBT only has 145. So what we see is that although CRBT is well below each of these requirements, they also have provisions in place to mitigate their risks as a direct result of some of these escrow clause provisions. Ultimately, we believe that changes to escrow requirements as a result of S2155 will have little to no impact on CRBT in the near future, and we think next 2 to 3 years.
There's two reasons why Community Bank and Trust is not changing their call reporting. The first one being is the time that it takes to set up the new processes and documentation will take more time than they would save using the short-term call reporting. The second reason being QCRH, the holding parent to Community Bank and Trust, needs the information on the short-term and long-term call reports for their consolidated call reports.
The way that QCRH and CRBT's compliance office automatically works is that the loan officers get all the information needed for the reporting through the customers through their loan apps, and then with the software that they have, they input all that data into the software, which pre-fills all the categories needed to determine if they're a good person to lend to and if their creditworthiness. But with that information, some of the stuff is not required for HMDA, and so with this change in the HMDA requirements, we don't really know how much this is going to affect the bank as a whole, due to they already collect all this information for other purposes regarding loans, and they plan to do that in the future because they're not planning on cutting anybody from their compliance office, or they're not adding anybody to their compliance office.
Our concluding thoughts are that the Economic Growth, Regulatory Relief, and Consumer Protection Act of 2018 will not have much significant impact on the bank or its operations. What we do expect is that the bank will continue as a strong business and remain a staple of the Cedar Valley communities that surrounds it and supports it.